I still remember my time at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka UNN, especially my days in the Department of Psychology. Those years were filled with unforgettable lessons, some learned the hard way. In that department, two female professors reigned supreme, Professors Uju and Nakem. They weren't just senior lecturers, they were forces to reckon with, and they carried themselves like untouchable goddesses. Their attitudes made the atmosphere in the department tense. They were commanding, strict, and often quite mean. Many students trembled at the thought of crossing them. I often felt intimidated by their presence. A single glance from Professor Uju could silence a hallway. Professor Nakem wasn't much better. Her words cut deeper than a sword. Despite their intimidating nature, they had a few students they favored, and this favoritism wasn't hidden. Two names always popped up: Drive, Ojo, and Dr. Ifeoma. I was lucky, or perhaps unlucky, to be friends with Dr. Ojo, Drive, Odo, and Dr. Ifeoma. We formed a little support system, sharing our daily experiences and frustrations. Among us, Drive, Odo stood out the most. He was brilliant, sharp-minded, diligent, and consistent. His academic record spoke volumes. When the department announced new lecturer vacancies, a ripple of excitement ran through the corridors. Everyone who was qualified began preparing their applications. As the head of department, Professor Uju had the power to recommend candidates. She personally told Drive, Ojo, Drive, Ifeoma, and Dr. Odo to apply for the positions. I remember Drive, Odo's enthusiasm. He was full of hope, already envisioning how he would contribute to the department in a bigger capacity. But what we didn't know was that Professor Uju had no intention of letting him get the job. Behind closed doors, she was planning a different outcome. One afternoon, I overheard Professor Uju talking to Professor Nakem about Dr. Odo. She was candid. She didn't want him employed and was willing to do whatever it took to stop it. It was shocking to hear that kind of betrayal. Here was a young man she had encouraged to apply, yet she was plotting to sabotage him. Surprisingly, Professor Nakem wasn't on board with the plan. She remained silent at the time, but it was clear she wasn't comfortable with what she had heard. Days later, Professor Nakem made a bold move. She called Drive, Odo to her office, a meeting he didn't expect. She told him everything: Professor Uju's plan, the hidden sabotage, and the political games being played. I remember how stunned he looked afterward. She advised him to take a different route, to apply through Imo State government, his home state, so the application would go straight to the vice-chancellor. It was a risky move, but Drive, Odo followed her advice. He prepared a new application and sent it through the Imo State channel, bypassing the department's usual process. Meanwhile, Professor Uju was still delaying the signing of his departmental application. She kept giving excuses, pretending to be too busy. Then, the unexpected happened. A letter came from the Vice-Chancellor's office. It was a direct order instructing Professor Uju to sign Drive, Odo's application and forward it to the dean's office. Her face, when she received the letter, was a mix of shock and rage. She had been outplayed, and she knew it. But she couldn't defy the vice-chancellor. She signed the application, handed it over, and pretended everything was fine. We all thought the storm had passed. Dr. Odo was relieved, and for a moment, it felt like justice had been served. Unfortunately, we underestimated how far Professor Uju was willing to go. She approached the secretary at the dean's office with a devious request. She told the secretary to, accidentally, misplace Drive Odo's file. The secretary, whether out of fear or loyalty, did as she was told. When we checked the records later, Drive Odo's application was nowhere to be found. It was clear, his file had been deliberately dropped. We were furious but helpless. There was no evidence, only whispers and silent glances that told the truth no one dared to say aloud. Dr. Odo tried to stay hopeful. He said he believed in destiny and that whatever was meant to be would be. But I could see the pain in his eyes. The entire department buzzed with rumors. Some said the final employment list would expose everything, while others believed the truth would stay buried. Then came the moment we had all been waiting for, the day the employment letters were scheduled to be released. The atmosphere in the department was electric. Everyone was eager to see the list of those employed. It list was heartbreaking.